Welcome to this introduction to qualitative data analysis software. During this introduction, we'll look at the purpose of qualitative analysis softwares, or QDA for short. What criteria should you have in mind when selecting what is the best software for your research? Finally, we'll look at a few examples of what you can do with the QDA software using the latest version at the time of recording of Nvivo. Qualitative data analysis software is not magic. They do not analyze data for you and will not bring any insight automatically based on the data you've entered. You will always be responsible for making sense of the data. QDA software only provides you with a toolbox to analyze and navigate the data. QDA softwares can be expensive. Some free solutions exist, as we'll see later, but most of them require to pay a subscription with various options for you to choose from depending on your budget or your needs. QDA software do help you in organizing your data in such a way that you can then understand connections that would have been suspected otherwise, or bring out a clearer picture to answer the questions you were asking. QDA softwares can also, to some extent, help you transform your qualitative data into quantitative data thanks to some of its functionalities like frequency analysis. The three main qualitative data analysis software at the moment are MaxQDA, Atlas TI, and Nvivo. All three of them have different types of subscriptions and similar functionalities to analyze your data. For a student license for a single user, Nvivo can cost around £70 for 12-month use. After 12 months, your data is still yours, but you will not have access anymore to the software's functionality. During the 12 months, you will have access to all the functionalities of the software. For a student in single user license to MaxQDA, you can have access to various levels of service for a period of a year for a single user. The standard version costs around £159. Finally, the student single user license for Atlas TI can be available via web access only for a monthly subscription of £7.79, so around £93 per year, or for 12 months, or a semester, or 2 years. To decide what software to choose, you will need to think of what type of data you will need to analyze. Interviews, videos, questionnaires in Excel format, data pulled from social media. The data should direct your choice of software, not the other way around. Consider also how long you will need the software for. The cost of the subscription and the various offers means that a software might be more affordable than another. However, do take into consideration the time you spend learning how to use the software, even if a lot of various training videos exist on YouTube, for example. Webinars are sometimes offered as part of your subscription by the software provider to help you use it. Think also of how much data you will need to analyze. Is the use of expensive qualitative data analysis software really useful to the amount of data you will need to analyze? Open source and free QDA software exists, but the capabilities will be more limited and the interface less user-friendly. You can use the link to the list put together by the Cadigan College Library to find out, but bear in mind that this software most likely only supports text and Excel files at best. With a qualitative data analysis software, you will be able to code your data. For example, you will be able to assemble parts of several interviews where a particular topic is covered to analyze it separately. A QDA software will allow you to bring out themes more effectively by using search queries on the frequency with which a term or a subject is being talked about. Search queries on a specific dataset or every dataset can also facilitate data mapping to see how words are correlated. Nvivo in particular can determine on request if a sentence is meant to be positive or negative automatically. A project is a collection of various data that you want to analyze together. On Nvivo, a project will consist of a number of files of any type. You can include in a project Word documents, videos, any number of Excel files, data pulled for social media, etc. You can also work on a project with several other Nvivo users and share your data with them so they can also participate in coding and analyzing it. Remember that coding is about learning how best to organize your data so you can think about themes in interesting and innovative ways. This quote is from Cadigan, a PhD candidate at the University of Washington who has created training videos on Nvivo, and I strongly advise you to watch it if you want to learn more about the software. Coding is always down to the user. It's also possible to code the same sentence or the same data group twice or more depending on where you see fit. When you open the document, you can create a new code by right-clicking on the code area and select New Code. You will be asked to give it a name, and you can then add a description to help you remember what it corresponds to or to describe its purpose for your collaborators. Then you can underline any part of the text and drag and drop it in the code you want to add it to. The number of files correspond to the number of documents associated with the code, whereas the number of reference will correspond to the number of text or elements you have added. If you add another paragraph from the same document, the number of files will not change, but the number of reference will. You can also create variables which will help you describe each contribution from your dataset. A variable can correspond to demographic information like the age, gender, nationality of the person you have interviewed. You are not limited on the number of types of variables you can create. You can also import survey files from Excel and use them as variables. To create new variables, first, right-click on Case Classification under the Case category and select New Classification to create a category. Just like for your code, give it a name and write a description if you want to. Then, once you've created your new category of variables, you can start creating variables. Right-click on your new category and select Create New Attributes. Once again, give it a name and a description in the first tab, but in the second tab, you will enter the various qualifiers you want to associate with this variable. Then, in the interview file, select all of the individuals you want to classify using the demographic attributes created. Once you have selected the files you would like to classify, select the attributes you created and start attributing values to different interviewees based on their demographics. Once the data has been coded and the necessary variables have been attributed, you can start running queries. Nvivo in particular has the possibility of determining or request if a comment is positive and negative. Outside of this, you'll be able to run various queries on your data based on the occurrence of words or run complex equations based on how you have coded your data. The software will help you put a spotlight and connections between pieces of your data and help you organize the information you collected, but it won't bring insight to life or make suggestions for you. With the word frequency analysis, you can look at the number of times words are mentioned or which words are mentioned more frequently in connections with a specific word. Nvivo will then generate a word cloud based on your result, where the most frequently mentioned words will be at the center and every other word will vary in size based on how frequently it is mentioned. can also ask the software to group words if they are an exact match, stem words, synonyms, or if they cover a similar meaning or subject. For more complex equations, you can select certain criteria and confront or combine them to narrow down your search on specific parts of your data. To conclude, there are pros and cons to using Nvivo. The license fee for the use of the software is costly, even if it was one of the cheapest out of the main three companies. Nvivo also offers a service to get interviews recording transcribed, but it has a cost per minute of recording which can be quite expensive. The possibility to work with any type of media is also advantageous, but any of the other three main software offers it. From my own experience, I did find its functionalities to be quite intuitive, but I would recommend downloading several software packages and try them before making a final decision.